All right. Menahot, Mengimel, Menahot.
ותמות וזכרתם, ראה מצווה זו וזכור מצווה אחרת ותלויה בו. ואיזו זו? זו קריאת שמע. What is this mitzvah? It's mitzvah of קריאת שמע. תתנן, מאמת הקורן את שמע בשחרית, משיקיר. Right, it's קורן brachos, right? משיקיר בנתחילת לבן. ותניה אידך, וראיתם אותו וזכרתם, right? So it's מקשר, right? The mitzvah of reading Kriyat Shema with seeing the difference between Tchilas and Lavan. Tanya Yidach, Ritem Uschartem, Rei mitzvah zu, v'zachor mitzvah acheret, smuch ala. Fine. Ve'ezo zu mitzvah kolaim. Okay. Tichtiv, lo tzabash shatnez, tzemer upishtim yachdav. Dilim taseh lecha, Tanya Yidach, Ritem Uschartem, kol mitzvot Hashem. Right, same svara. Kivan shinchayev adam b'mitzvah zu nitchayev b'chol mitzvot koulan. Fine. Very interesting. Connect climb. For Rabbi Shimon hi. Da'amar mitzvah saseja zman gramahi. Tanya. Pun intended. Tanya idach oritem oter uschartem et kol mitzvot shkula mitzvah zu k'neged kol mitzvot koulan. Right. Wow. So the same idea because it's next to it. So therefore, it's connected all the mitzvot. Tanidach oritem oto uschartem vasitem re'ia mivi'ah l'idei zechira. Okay, so seeing makes you remember. Zechira mivi'ah l'idei asiyah. Rishon Bar Yochai Omer kol hazariz b'mitzvah zu zoche u'mekabel pnei shchina. K'tiv hacha oritem oto u'chtiv hasam et Hashem akad tira v'otot ha'arot. Okay, very nice.
Okay, so exactly. So we have here a few different drashot about tzitzit, right?
Yeah,
what does the Temotos Charta mean? So there's a few different ideas, and the one to focus on is Shkula mitzvot k'neged kol mitzvot koulan. How have you always understood that idea? What does that mean? In what sense? Right.
I mean, there's the famous that like not all mitzvahs are created equal, like Talmud Torah, right? Things that don't have a shiur limitation to it. You can keep going, right? Tanya's approach a little bit in a supernatural kind of way.
Yeah, let's go. It's Yud Kislev. Let's go into okay.
Parakeh, right?
Parakeh. Talmud Torah is its own beast.
It's its own beast. It's its own beast. It becomes part of you. It's not. That's pshat in Elam Shiur. But no. Okay, sorry.
No. Of course, yeah, that's good.
Okay. No.
Yeah. So I think the way I always understood this was. I think what you said earlier, where not all mitzvot are created equal. If you put, in the simple understanding, you put, according to this, tzitzit on the scale, you put the other 612 on the other side of the scale, and they're going to balance each other. Yeah. Right?
Well, you're saying specifically those three?
Which three?
Right. What we say in Birkas Torah.
So now you're getting to the problem, right? That here it says, right. Tzitzit, and now you're saying, well, okay. I have other ones with no shear at all.
Okay, got it.
That's the question, right?
Okay.
And exactly, good. So you say tzitzit is equal to all the other mitzvot, but like you said, there's mitzvot that don't have a shiur.
Right, and tzitzit does have a shiur.
Sorry?
Tzitzit does have a shiur, and it's not listed.
Tzitzit does have a shiur, it's not listed there. And in particular, what we'll focus on is that there's actually a whole list of other mitzvot that do have a shiur and are also din shkula k'neged kol mitzvot koulan.
Okay.
So if you have tzitzit that has this and other mitzvot that also have this, how's that possible? Yeah. Right? Because if each of them is shkula k'neged kol mitzvot koulan, then they have to include the other one.
Yep. So what does it really mean?
Yeah. So basically. In advance, apologies. Usually what I do is kind of build the whole sugya around this, but since this past week was a bit under the weather, so here we're just going to kind of go through all the different examples and then at the end try to offer a suggestion. Okay. It's not normally how this year is structured.
Okay. If I get a call from Melanie, I'm going to have to go.
Not a problem. Okay. But let's start. It's super small because that's the way the printer did it.
Okay.
But I will...
This is the Ein Yaakov or something else?
Yes, the Ein Yaakov is a commentary on the Ein Yaakov.
Ah, really? Okay.
Yeah, by Rabbi Yaakov Reisher. I think he's from the 1800s. And he's my favorite perush that I've seen so far in the Ein Yaakov. He generally has some nice ideas.
I can remember. V'taima.
Yeah, sorry, it's too small.
V'taima kedemefarish v'azil right? Sha'al yedei mitzvah. I can't read that. Sha'al yedei mitzvah sheroeh maybe lidei zechiros kol mitzvah sheken hu b'gematria. Right, so it makes it. What it means is that like a very logical explanation that it's like it makes you remember everything, right? It's like by seeing it. Compares Rashi.
Because tzitzis is
it's a functional remembrance, right? You see it, and therefore you remember it.
Right, and the Perush Rashi is that tzitzit in Gematria 600, and there's 8 strings and 5 knots.
Just like the classic answer, no?
Yeah, exactly.
Keep going.
Yeah, it's really the next one that I'm interested in, but yeah.
What's that say? Hazaris or
Hazaris, yeah.
Hazaris b'mitzvah zu.
Yep. Zoche u'mekabel pnei
Zoche u'mekabel pnei shchina.
Yeah.
Okay. Efshar lomar. What's it? Is that a Zion?
I think it's a Daled. Sorry, I'll down to Ita.
I want you to do this. You probably saw it already. Efshar lomar.
Yeah, I'll do this one just because it's small. Al da'at Ita b'masechet bava ba'aterim v'uva b'zichron Torat Moshe erech shchina. It's taught elsewhere. Kol mi davar erva ve'eino nehene mimenu zoche u'mekabel pnei shchina. This idea, whoever sees davar erva, but does not benefit from it, he merits the shchina.
Right.
Uchtiv lo yireh b'cha ervat davar v'shav me'achorecha. There's a pasuk that teaches this. It says you shall not see ervat davar v'shav me'achorecha. So it's kind of saying if you do see an ervat davar and you don't benefit from it, then that's the mitzvah there. V'azariz b'mitzvat tzitzit gam ken eno b'ashiene me'avera kedeita lekaman daf memdal gabe ma'aseh ba'adam. There's a famous story brought later on in the next daf of a man who used to be who was the most promiscuous guy. He used to go sleep with all the prostitutes in the land.
He's going on the boat or something, and he sees a tzitzit.
Yeah, he's like going to sleep. He goes up to these 7 beds or something. He pays this exorbitant sum. He's about to sleep with this woman, and the tzitzit come and slap him in the face, and then he ends up rejecting her. She becomes a gioret and a baal tshuva. It's like this whole story about. Right. So the Yun Yaakov is saying that story is a proof of this idea, right? That we have this idea. Kol haroeh ervat davar. It's like kol hazaris b'mitzvat tzitzit zocher mekabel et pnei shchina. So he connects these two ideas together through that story. Because in that story, there's a person who fulfilled the mitzvah tzitzit while he was seeing ervat davar and not being ne'enem mimenu, and so the shchina, he was zocher the shchina, and that she ended up converting to Yiddishkeit.
Okay. He was ro'eh, the first pasuk, the first piece, via the tzitzit, the agent. And then with Kabbalah Shechina, because of that. Right.
I think he doesn't say this explicitly, but the Mekabel Pnei Shechina, either through him or through the fact that she ended up converting, right?
Okay. Kala Rabati. Amar Rav Achi bar Rav Yoshia Kol Tofe Benashim Sof Bali De Avera. Kol Mefana Etzmomina. Is that also a Gemara? Kol Mefana Etzmomina Avera V'lo Asa Afilu Yisrael Hu Ra'oi La'alos. Aleka kohen gadol al gabei mizmach shenemar ve'yishlach na'arei b'nei Yisrael. Aval mi shesam etzmo eitzel min avera v'lo asa nizun miziv hashchina shenemar ve'yachazu et elim ve'yachazu.
So this is just emphasizing that same idea again, that anyone who makes himself atzel min avera, like lazy from sin, which is interesting terminology, and doesn't do an avera with arayot or erva, he also receives the shechina.
Yeah, Eitzel min avera is an interesting way to put it. Okay. The derech eretz rabba. What's the derech eretz rabba?
Derech eretz rabba it's one of the small Mishnah Ketanot, like the small Masechta. There's a whole bunch of them, and it's just nice things that are derech eretz, like how to be a good person type of thing.
Rav Achi bar Yoshia Omer, Kol tzofim b'nashim sofu b'alei de'averach. אומרים כל מסתכל בעקיבה שלי שהגוזרים עליו שיהיו לו בנים בעלי מומין. וכל מי שאין בו בושות פנים במראה הוא חוטא, שנאמר, right? You don't have embarrassment, you're going to sin. הקרא פנים עשה בו. וכל מי שיש בו בושות פנים לא במראה הוא חוטא, שנאמר, בעבור, he's not going to חוטא in such a case. If you're ובעבור תהיה ירתו על פניכם לבלתי חתיכתו. רב משה ברבי יהודה ורבי יהושע בן לוי אומר, כל הרוע דבר ערווה. Be'eno zan etzi navi menuz. He's not dwelling on it, embellishing it. זוכר מקבל פני שכינה, שנאמר, ועוצם עיניו מערוז פרה, מה כתיב בתריהו, מרומים, ישכון, וכתיב, מלך ביפיו תחזינה עיניך. ביפיו תחזינה עיניך.
Right, so here, melech biofio techazena einecha, that you will see the king in his glory. Right, if you don't look at the woman in her nakedness, you'll see the Shechina in his full glory, as it were.
Full glory, yeah.
That's kind of like a reward for not looking at the woman in her nakedness. Okay. The next source gives that example of tzitzis being shkula, k'neged kol mitzvot kולן, but in a very interesting context.
Okay. This is Gemara in Shavuot, Chaf Terem Aleph. Tashma. Achir Matiu, שהשביע משה את ישראל, אמר להן, תראו שלא על דעתכם אני משביע אתכם, אלא על דעת המקום, ועל דעתי. ומאי, למה לו קיימו, מאי דאמר אלוה, לאו משום דמזכירי עדתי עבודת כוכבים, לא משום דבוס כוכבים, nami ikri eloka. Right, even though it's not a idol worship, it's called an eloka. Dichtiv, elokei kesef, elokei zahav.
So let me give the context here.
Yeah.
This is in the context of Shavuot, and in particular, it's a halachic context where it's talking about if somebody makes a vow and they use kind of ambiguous words. Right. And then afterwards they come and they say, no, I meant such and such when I said that. Right. Do you take their word for it that that's what they meant, or do you interpret their vow based on kind of how generally those words are used?
Right. In Nidarim also, right? They say that one of the criteria has to be specific, because in the case where you do just like this case, like what you said, it doesn't. No, I don't think it goes like this, but if you do like this, so it's not chal.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. To be like explicit about it. So if someone's not, then there's kind of an ambiguity about how to interpret them. So the Gemara is asking, do we kind of assume?
In other words, you're saying, "Oh God," but you're not meaning avodah zarah.
So that's the question, right? It says like when Moshe was like swore, he entered into an oath with Bnei Yisrael, right, about to keep the Torah. Mm-hmm. So he said to them, "You should know that I'm not doing it I'm not doing it based on your da'at. I'm doing it based on Hashem's da'at and my da'at. Meaning, I don't care what you think. I care about how." So the question is, but it says in the Torah. So
it says.
The fact that it says. Right, the Amar Eloha La Mishum Demaskei Daitayu. Right. So from the fact that it uses Eloha in the Torah, don't we learn from that it follows the
words?
The words.
Right.
So we say no, because even Avodat Kochavim can be called Eloha. Okay, right. And that's why Moshe had to be like specific and say Lo Da'atchem Ani Mashbi'a Atchem. Right. And couldn't just say, because Bnei Yisrael could use Eloha to mean Avodat Kochavim as well. Saying Eloha is not an assumption that means God.
Right.
Okay. Yep. Right there.
Sorry. No, I'm texting you. I'm sorry, I'm here. So, I think I'm not 15, but it's okay. Right. Okay. V'lema. So let us say v'lema luhu kaimu Torah. Right. V'lema. That was context. 1 second. Right. Because he said the pasuk says lokeas keizahav. So we know right. This kachavim nami ikre loa. Fine. V'lema luhu kaimu Torah. Torah chada Torah. Right. There's one derech of Torah. V'lema kamu shtei Torahs.
Yes,
Torah's chatas, Torah's asham.
Yes, I was going to. So let Moshe have said to them, keep the Torah, kimu Torah. Mm-hmm. The problem is then the assumption is there's only one Torah, chad Torah. Right. But there's Torah shebichtav and Torah shebal peh. Okay, so that doesn't work. Because if you have to be, he's not specific enough, right? If he just says kimu Torah, they could say, you said just Torah shebichtav.
Right. Cool. Avodas kochavim. Damar mar, chamura avodas kochavim. Right. Shekola kofer ba.
Wait, so let's back up for a second. So he says, okay, so you couldn't have said to them, keep one Torah, because they could have said there's two Torah, because then they could have said, we're only keeping Torah shebichtav. Right. So V'lema kimu shtei Torot. So let him have said to them, keep Torah, two Torahs. But then they could say, oh, okay, we'll keep Torah Hashem.
Right.
No, it's not the Torah as a general idea, but specific laws of the Torah, of the sacrifices. Then kimu kol Torah too. So let him say, keep the entire Torah.
Right.
And that's, they could say, oh, we thought that meant just to keep the Isser of Avodas Kochavim.
Okay.
Because Mar said, Chamur Avodas Kochavim shekol kofar ba kemoda b'chol Torah kula. Right? It's all equal in some sense to the whole Torah.
Right. V'leima lehu kimu mitzvah chada. Right? So mitzvah sorry. V'leima lehu kimu mitzvah chada. Mitzvah kimu mitzvot. Right? Mitzvot tarti. Kol mitzvot kula. Mitzvot tzitzit. I see the connection now. Kенגד כל mitzvot כולן. ולמה להו קימו 613 mitzvot. Keep all 613, not just tzitzis. ולתמך, so לתמך, right, fine. So למה להו על דעתי, על דעת המקום למה לי, אלא כי היכי דלא תהווה הפרה לשבועתיו.
Okay, less important kind of the halachic response here about how Moshe could have technically said keep 613 mitzvot, but that's not how people normally would talk. So he just ended up saying, whatever, more generally. But the idea here is that there's an example where Moshe couldn't have said to them, keep the mitzvah, because then they would have thought, keep all the mitzvot, because then they would have said, okay, we kept tzitzit.
Right.
So here we see an application.
Specify.
That keeping all the mitzvot is can be interpreted to mean keep just tzitzit because tzitzit is שקולה כנגד כל mitzvot כולן.
Okay. כבר מנידה, דבר אחר, גדול המילה הרי. גדול המילה, this wasn't a few days ago.
Okay.
גדול המילה, שקולה כנגד כל המצוות שבתורה, שנאמר, כי על פי הדברים האלה, דבר אחר, גדולה מילה, שאלמלא מילה, לא נזכרו שמיים בארץ, שנאמר, אם לא ביתי יומם ולילה. Right, Fli Gadar Eliezer, Damar Eliezer, Gdola Torah. Shemalay Torah, Lonis Kamo Shamayim V'aretz. Shemar, Lo Briti Yom Valela, Chukos Shamayim V'aretz Lo Samti. So, okay, it's interesting. I think the Gemara went on to say a story, if I remember correctly, which I might be confusing it. It went on to say a story right afterwards about a rabbi who I forgot if he redid a milah or something.
Redid a milah?
I don't remember exactly. It was a weird story to read it right at this point. But, okay, the importance of milah. So,
I'd be curious to know what the story is. Maybe it connects.
Yeah.
Chabad. While you're finding it, so you see right that the mitzvah of milah is equated to all of the mitzvot. So kind of going back to our original question, why? How do we square that with the idea that tzitzit is equated to all the mitzvot?
Oh, here it is. Right, but all right. So this is the part of Eliezer. Yeah, here. Here it is. So there's a whole bunch of stories. Here, right. So basically, the Gemara goes on here saying a few stories comparing Milah with Avram Avinu getting Milah, right? And here towards the end, Amar Vavo, Amar Eliezer, Mipnei Ma ne'enesh Avram Avinu, v'shenishpat divanu l'Mitzrayim 210 shanim. He made fun. He went like that. One second. Sorry. No, the story was beforehand. Okay. Here. Okay, I got the order wrong, but okay. So Tanya Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha Omer. B'tol Mila shekol zuchur sh'asam Moshe Rabbeinu lo amdu lo amdu no kshin trishel mina mila. Right. So it's like a story about. Was it second? Shenemar v'Yeshua Hashem v'vakesh yimato Amar Rabbi Chas v'shalom shemoshe Rabbeinu trishel mina mila. Ela kach amar emol ve'etzei sakana v'tzakana hi. Shenemar v'hiu Moshe shi v'tem koavim. Emol ve'asher shosha yamim. Makadosh Baruch Hu amar li lech shuv mitzrayim. El v'pnei ma ne'enesh mitzvah v'pnei שנתעסק במלון תחילה. He delayed. But I think if I remember, there's something to do with his wife here.
This is the Chatan Damim story.
Yeah. You knew the story? I didn't know the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were derech malon. Rabbi Shimon said, "Lo levash Rabbi Shatan, roga tola tziti action amar." Right. Say re mika re chatan. There was zeh hatinok. Fine.
I've learned this whole this whole medrash. It's actually really I have a whole kind of Dvar Torah on this thing. This there's three psukim about Vahiva derech b'malon v'ifkesheu Hashem v'yivkesh amito. It's in Parshat Shmot.
Okay.
Moshe, when he's going down to Egypt, so they're on their way.
Yeah.
He's with his wife and his kids.
Yeah.
And God comes to kill him.
Right.
Yeah, so Tzipora takes a rock and circumcises her son and says Chatan Damim Atali, and then it saves them.
Yeah.
It's like no one knows what's going on with that story. It's the most strange story. So here it's coming to try to understand it. So it's saying, what do you mean? Like God came by Vakeshamito, God tried to kill Moshe Rabbeinu.
Yeah.
And you have now this. Tzipora gives a bris milah, so now Moshe spared. God had just right before that appointed Moshe to lead Bnei Israel to Mitzrayim.
Yeah.
Now he's going to knock him off. So that's what this is coming to try to understand. There's different opinions here about Moshe and then the Brit Milah.
Moshe, was he holding it up?
So one opinion says no, it's like God wants to kill the baby and not to kill Moshe.
Yeah.
And then it says no, Chas v'shalom that Moshe didn't want to do Brit Milah, right? It's that he said he was going to do it after a few days, or he was dealing with instead of running down to Egypt, he was dealing with the malon, the hotel. But basically, Chas v'shalom that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't care about Brit Milah. That's what they're trying to argue.
Well, that I think the point is more that the Gemara is trying to, the underlying thing of the Gemara is how important Milah is, right? Not that Moshe.
Of course. And it's clear from the story how important it is because God comes to kill either him or his son because it hadn't happened.
Yeah. Okay.
So the question is more, how could Moshe not have done it? Right?
Mm-hmm. Let's continue because I really have to get home soon.
Remind me another time because there's a really interesting medrash on that particular story. Okay, another example is Shabbat, that's compared to all the mitzvot.
Yeah.
Shmot Rabbah Chafei.
That's a Baravina. Metzina b'Torah b'Tanach. Shikua Shabbat k'neged kol mitzvot b'Torah minayin. Mitzvot Shabbat. Okay, every time Moshe forgets something, he's in trouble. Amar lo Kadosh Baruch Hu ad ana me'antem lishmor mitzotai u'ma k'tiv acharav r'u ki Hashem natan lachem et Shabbat. V'nevi'im minayin shne'emar v'yimaru ki beit Yisrael b'midbar beit Yisrael b'midbar b'chukosai lo alachu u'ma k'tiv acharav et shotzotai chilelu. To be minayin shne'emar v'al har Sinai yarata v'dibarta imehem maktiv acharav ve'et Shabbat k'shachal hodat alem. Fine, according to Shabbat. Amar lem Kadosh Baruch Hu liYisrael im tisku lishmor Shabbat maleh ani alechem ki'ilu shamartem kol mitzvot shebetorah v'yichilatem otem maleh ani alechem ki'ilu chilatem kol mitzvot. V'chen hu omer shomer Shabbat mechal loed. If you're good, it's even better for everything. If it's bad, it's bad for everything. Mitzvah yadam me'asot kol ra ve'et sh'adam shomer Shabbat gozeh gzeira v'Kadosh Baruch Hu מקיים שנאמר, אם תשיב משבת רגליך, מה כתיב אחריו, אז תתענג על השם, כמה דתימה, ותענג על השם, ותתן לך משאלות ליבך.
Just this last line here is pretty intense. It says, בעת שאדם שומר את השבת, גוזר גזרה, והקדוש ברוך הוא מקיימה. He almost forces God to fulfill his decrees.
Yeah.
כביכול.
Choni Amago style.
Exactly.
Okay. So Eretz Yisrael, Yishuv Eretz Yisrael also has it. Shtav Adam Eretz Yisrael, afilu be'ir shruva, odei kochavim, v'lo b'chutzarz, afilu be'ir shkula, Yisrael milamed. Oh, so it's inferring out from the lengths that you have to go to live in Eretz Yisrael that it's Kенeged all the mitzvot of the Torah. It's a bit of a stretch, though, no?
Yeah, I was trying to find, meaning the fact that he derives it from the halacha that a person should live in Eretz Yisrael, even amongst idol worshippers.
But all these things, though, what's the nafkamina?
What's the nafkamina?
Meaning, okay, let's say we read that tzitzis is like all mitzvahs, like in the Torah, like we read in the first Gemara.
Yeah.
Right? So the Gemara would seem to imply, I guess you're not really learning shot, like it's from Agadita, but still. It's like, therefore you have to specify 365 mitzvot. That's what the Gemara said. So, let's say you don't. Then what's the nafkamina? Like what? You know what I mean?
What's the nafkamina, and how can all of these live in parallel?
Okay.
And who cares? What's the point? Why are we?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I think from the fact, just to kind of jump to the end, and there's another. No, it's okay. I mean, there's another example here. It's tzedakah and gemil chasadim.
Right. But, okay.
Well, just Tosefta and Peh is enough. You know, it's tzedakah.
tzedakah chasadim שקולים כנגד כל מצוות שבשביל, שצדקה בחיים, גמול חסדים בחיים ומתים, tzedakah בעניים, גמול חסדים בעניים ועשירים. So you're basically covering all aspects of life, society. Right? So
the point here is it says tzedakah gemil chasadim shkulin k'neged kol mitzvot shebat Torah. If you stop there, you would think tzedakah and gemil chasadim are grouped together and or are equal to each other.
No, it's not. It's tzedakah b'chayim.
And it says exactly, but then it says gemil chasadim is much greater than tzedakah. Right? It says you can only give charity to someone who's alive. Gemil chasadim you can do even for a dead person. You can only give tzedakah to poor people, but you can do gemil chasadim no matter a person's wealth. Tzedakah you can only do with money, but gemil chasadim you can do, in other ways.
Yeah.
So in the same phrase here, we have both tzedakah and gemil chasadim equated to all the mitzvot in the Torah, while at the same time acknowledging that gemil chasadim is much greater than tzedakah.
Yeah.
So that forces you to confront the fact that this isn't a quantitative concept, but rather a qualitative concept, right?
Yeah.
It's not what I originally supposed, where you have a scale.
You're covering the alive and the dead and this. And
right. It can't be that you're dealing with equality in that sense, but rather in just more generally that when the Midrashim are referring to a mitzvah as being shkula k'neged kol mitzvot Torah, kula, it's a way of saying that this is a mitzvah that is essential and core and very, a key part of Torah, right? And I think the language he uses by Shabbat kind of makes this clear, where it says, all right, im tisku lishmo Shabbat, malani alechem ki ilu shamartem mikol mitzvot Shabbat Torah. In other words, it's not that Shabbat literally is equal to 612 mitzvot, but just that Shabbat is such a fundamental tenet of the Torah that it's equated to the Torah as a concept to show you how important it is and to give it like that level of status. And you can have multiple mitzvot that are framed in that way. And just kind of a way to think of, but to go back, and this is like my own little chidush here, to go back to what I said before. I said it can't be quantitative on the scales, but maybe there is a way to think about it in that sense. How can you do that? You had mentioned earlier about ein lem shiur, and I think you actually alluded to in an indirect way the point that I was going to make here at the end. Just ein lem shiur means it's infinite.
Right.
Okay. Now, when it comes to infinity, so you can have different things that are when you kind of take different infinities, they're equal to each other, even if they're different. If that makes sense. Like when you compare things to infinity. If I'm saying that the mitzvah tzedakah and the mitzvah of gemil chasadim are equal to all the mitzvah in the Torah, but then I say that all the mitzvah in the Torah and them shiur, the reward is limitless. It's infinite. So I can say that one is greater than the other, but they're still equal to each other in a way. Because
of their ability to create infinity, I'm not following.
That if you do infinity plus one, it's still infinity. If you do infinity plus a million, it's still infinity. Once you're dealing in a realm of ein lem shiur, so things can be the same because they're all infinite. They're all equal to each other in that they have ein lem shiur, but you can still talk about the fact that they're kind of, one is shkula and one's not shkula, but they're still somehow equal. It's a bit of a stretch, but it's kind of trying to salvage that quantitative nature to the shikul of, I can say it's tzedakah and gemil chasadim are equal while not equal at the same time, because I'm dealing with a world of ein lem shiur, and so maybe. But I think the larger idea still stands that it's just kind of emphasizing certain key mitzvot, and it makes sense, right? We don't say shkula k'neged kol mitzvot when it comes to, the mitzvah of not to allow your ox muzzle with a donkey, right? It's talking about Brit Milah, it's talking about Shabbat, Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, Tzedakah, and Tzitzit. These are core mitzvot, and they should remind us. Uschartem Mikol Mitzvot Hashem.
טוב,
Shkoyach.